Welcome to the Antisocial Podcast. My name is Andy and I am currently sitting in the Virgin Lounge in Perth. I am an idiot. I missed my flight. So I've decided that I'm going to maximise my time sitting here and I'm going to record a bunch of intros for the upcoming episodes that have just been recorded here in Perth. So this will be one of a few intros that will all be recorded right from the Virgin Lounge here. So I'm going to spend less time rambling and try and be very efficient with these intros. So this week's guest is Brendon Capriotti and Ashley Large, also known as Cabba and Ash. They are part of the Perth band Claim the Throne, and they also host their own podcast called the Blodgecast, which you can find on iTunes. These guys are total DIY experts. Their podcast itself is really a behind-the-scenes, candid look at how a band functions. It sort of removes the veil that a lot of bands use these days to make themselves to look bigger than what they are and keep a lot of things mysterious. These guys have really sort of just put it out there and shown how sort of simple things can be, and sometimes a lot of things that aren't as glamorous as what many bands make things out to be as well. So it's quite handy. There's a lot of things that I've certainly learned listening to their podcasts. And to be honest, I think I mentioned this in the episode with Cabba and Ash, that their particular podcast definitely influenced me getting my own podcast up and running as well, being the Antisocial Podcast. So it's been really, really cool to catch up with them and have a chat. We recorded this in Leederville, which is a suburb of Perth, at a pub called Fibber McGee's. And the guys treated me to several pints of Hop Hog, which is a local craft beer there. And I'll tell you what, I was off on another planet by the end of this conversation. We certainly partook in quite a bit of beer drinking. So it's a fun episode. There's some interesting things and perspectives, a lot of DIY talk. So if you do play in a band or you're interested to learn a little bit more about the mechanics behind a lot of bands, this will be a good episode to listen to. If you want to check out Cabba and Ash's podcast, the Blodgecast, you can on iTunes. I think you can also find it through their band website, claimthethrone.com, and you can find them all over social media as well. I think they're on most of the social media platforms out there. So enough of me. I'm going to have a sip of my beer and record some more intros. And so please enjoy this episode with Cabba and Ash of Claim the Throne and the Blodgecast. Hello.
How you going?
Yeah, good.
Cabba and Ash here from Claim the Throne. Good
Yes.
to hang with you, Andy, finally. The two podcast competitors.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. we're battling. We're battling for the ratings.
Who's got the hottest voice here out of us three? Ash, I would say.
Most likely me. Not really.
You do have a bit of a radio voice.
Thank you. I don't think I do.
Yeah. Initially, when I first started listening to the Blodgecast, I was because I hadn't met you guys. This is the first time I've actually met you guys in person. We played a couple of shows.
We've met before. Probably not memorable, but
yeah, I can't remember anything really.
Yeah, drunk. Too much alcohol.
We played a couple of shows. I think we did something in Adelaide at one point.
Yeah, definitely Adelaide is one I was thinking of.
And anything in Adelaide's, I don't remember anything really. They're a write-off straight away. Especially speaking, we're just talking about drunken gigs. They're certainly up there as far as
Adelaide rules, and for us, maybe like almost not a second home, but I don't know. That's where we played our first show out of our hometown, and then you get a bit of the touring bug from there. So we owe a lot to Adelaide.
Yeah. There's some big booze hounds there, and everyone disses Adelaide and says the scene's shit. I reckon it's pretty damn good. Like, it's one of the places that before we started touring there, everyone said, don't waste your money, don't go to Adelaide. And I think I went over there once for one of the Against the Grains just as a punter, and I got smashed. I missed my flight. I ended up at Jason's place, and somebody was trying to book me another flight, and I just don't. It was hazy. It was really hazy. But it was enough of an impression that Jason went, do you guys want to play next year? And I'm like, mad, all right, done. And then after that, it's been great. It's been like one of the best cities to play in, probably after Melbourne. Melbourne's always the best, but it's been one of those good places.
I think there's heaps of underrated places in Australia. Like we've had some pretty good shows in Canberra even.
Canberra can be good.
And where else?
Wagga Wagga.
Ballarat, Bendigo. A few where, well, some of them don't have the most people, but it can be the most fun. Depends what you want in a gig.
Actually, yeah, it's sometimes better playing to like 10 payers because you happen to sell a lot more merch, we've found, than if you're playing to like 200 people at a festival. There's heaps of competition for selling merch.
Oh, that's it. If
But
you do
10
like,
people, they really appreciate it, and you can like treat them to a pretty personal show, and then they'll spend $100 each buying everything you've got.
well, speaking of Adelaide, if you do like the New Dead and you play with 30 other bands, you get your merch going. You walk away with bugger all in comparison to doing your own show, where, as you said, you can get like 10, 20 people that rock up, they're pissed off their head, they love it, and they're just, whatever cash is in their wallet, or if there's an ATM, you're cheering because they're just like just drawing all their money out. I'll get one of everything. You're like, yes.
Yeah, we
awesome.
even have done things like haggling and stuff, and
Yeah.
stand out the front, get all CDs and shirts, and then like, how much are shirts? $15. Oh, fuck that. Oh, do it for 10.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, all right, I'll do it for 8. And they're like, all right, we got a deal.
Make them feel like they got to win. Like, yeah.
Pretty much.
Trade you a shirt for 2 pints of beer.
Hey, there we go. Some local currency.
That'll work too. Yeah. But no, Adelaide is good.
Yeah.
And fuck, we've always had a good time there and stuff. So
Yeah.
more people should go. I think it's just when international bands come through, especially metal bands, the scene doesn't seem to turn out. But hey, I don't go to every single international show that comes through Perth.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Opposite here. Opposite in Perth, perhaps. Like a lot of the international shows seem to go pretty well, but you never see all those people at local gigs. Whether that's a standard thing around Australia, but it's a Perth thing.
I think perspective from the East Coast, looking at Perth, it sort of seems like Perth's got this eclectic mix of musicians and creative types, and it's a smaller city to begin with, but it seems to have this vibe where you're either not doing anything at all or you're doing everything. So anyone who's in the music industry or playing music and whatever seems to be achieving a fair bit, and I don't know.
Seems to be.
Seems to be. I don't know. And I mean, I'm sure you guys will ground me and bring me back to earth and tell me the realities of how shit Perth is. But I think there's a lot of great things coming out of Perth and a lot of artists and whatnot.
Totally.
And everyone seems to know each other as well, which is a big help. And I think given your distance and your challenge straight away because you're so isolated from everybody else, so to travel to get out to the East Coast is such a massive cost. And I think you guys have got good government grants or something. You've got some good initiatives that back you a bit.
Cabba knows more about that than me.
No, mate, his area of
Both
expertise.
we do.
But it seems like the perspective is that there's a lot of support there and everyone sort of feeds off each other to try and do great things, as opposed to Shitney, where Sydney's
Mike
just...
Shitney.
Sydney's just... Who dares?
Who just wins, guys?
It's...
Perth scene is pretty awesome. So, I would normally love to rag on Perth whenever possible, but it's actually pretty cool. And like you say, everyone sort of does know each other, and so you get that really close, cool vibe whenever you go to not every local gig, but, when there's a decent lineup, and just some nights are better than others, I guess. But when everyone's together at a gig, it's definitely a really positive vibe. Generally supportive, I guess. Sometimes it can get a bit...
Same.
It's a bit seen like anywhere else, but overall it's pretty awesome, and that's probably something that you do notice differently in different cities around Australia, is that maybe everyone doesn't know each other.
Yep.
So I think that's something cool that we've got over here, and there's definitely no shortage of bands and a lot of different styles of metal going on.
Well, one of the things that actually Stu McGill told me about when I think it must have been the last time we booked a show over here, and I think Dicey also told me as well, that you guys have got like this, I think it's a Facebook group where the local promoters are all sort of aligned in, so you don't do the gig clash and everything like that. And basically, if you do, then you're going to be banished from the Perth music scene. Like, you'll just be kicked out of the...
It started because there was a lot of clashes at the time, and I guess anywhere else that would be normal. You'd expect to have multiple gigs on in a night, but over here we don't really get that many. So, I don't know, and everyone does know each other, so it's just became this thing where whenever there was a clash, people were getting really shitty about it, and it would affect turnouts, and it's not good for anyone. So, there's like a Perth promoters group, so you go on there and there's a pinned post which has a calendar on it, so if you want to book a gig, that's the first place you check. Is there anything else on tonight? And if not, you you can just book it and chuck it in the calendar, or some people will say, is it cool if I book this date or whatever, and no one replies, and then they book it anyway.
And I'm sure like places like Melbourne don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. I mean, you could have 5 gigs on the same night and they're all getting at minimum 200 payers. It's just incredible. Melbourne's just unique, but Sydney needs that. Brisbane's not too bad. Brisbane usually is pretty good these days, but Sydney's a mess anyway. And for the biggest city in the country, we've got the smallest scene.
But how could it not be a mess? Because it is so big. Like here, we caught the train in, and we went past our rehearsal room that we jam at, and that's like the hub of, I reckon, 50% of the bands in Perth all rehearse there, and then the other 50% are split probably evenly through maybe a couple just spotted around the place, smaller rehearsal areas, and it's pretty hard not to know what's going on.
I think the big thing in Sydney is that when Sydney was doing really well, we had consistent promoters. So we had guys that were just constantly focused on putting on metal shows. So either once a week or once a fortnight, once a month, and it was just consistent. People knew what to expect. You would align into that promoter because the promoter would keep you informed as to what bands are coming up. And everyone uses the excuse that we had the lockout laws and venues were shutting down. And yeah, it had an impact, but it was a bit more of an excuse to just say it was shit and people were lazy, basically. So we lost so many promoters, and then the promoters have got a bit jaded and they sort of threw in the towel. And so now most of the shows that happen in Sydney are bands self-booking themselves. So you don't have that sort of that local momentum already there where you've got people that are waiting to find out about the next show. The hustle is on the band themselves to try and promote their own show and hope that within their own circles they can find enough people in Sydney that will know about it and then come in. And over and over again, it's the same thing. Oh, I didn't know about that show. No one told me about that. Or I didn't see that. And someone's like, oh, there was a Facebook event. It's like, okay. Yeah, well, it doesn't always help. It's not the only thing.
It doesn't help when, like, Jimmy's baby shower's on the same day and you get all these notifications and stuff like, are you going to this place or that? And yeah, it's hard to find through all the mess. I don't have Facebook for that reason. Well, not entirely for that reason, but I would just keep getting people telling me, like, where were you? You know, this party, this gig, this whatever. And I'd be like, dude, I don't know. And then, you know, they take offense when they almost have to promote it via text message or via a poster run or something.
Well, I remember years ago about 10 years ago when I first moved to Sydney and started doing the Lord stuff, and the amount of text spam we would get amongst all of our mates that were in bands about shows coming up this weekend and whatever, it was just, you were used to it. You would send out this mass text and you'd be trying to keep it under 140 characters or whatever. You didn't want to go 2 of 2 or whatever it is. You're trying to make it into one text message. And that was just the norm. And then there was also the flyer thing. I mean, we have like Gigantor or whatever, and like 06 or whatever, we had a duffel bag full of like 5,000 flyers, and we just walk up and down the line, handing out flyers, and most people would just like go, fuck this, and throw it out. But people would be like, oh, you're in that band. I'm like, yeah. And you shake hands, and then someone would have a beer, and you have a sip of their beer, and you keep walking along. And that sort of built that momentum and that connection straight away. So that first year of us whoring the fuck out of the band and doing that grassroots stuff, like that first year, best crowds we've ever had. And now, like, everyone's like, oh man, I can't be fucked going to that international show and hanging out afterwards and trying to battle with security, telling us to fuck off and not hand out flyers out the front of a venue or whatever. It's just, and then a lot of people now say it's not worth it. You should just do online promo, and I don't know.
Well,
talking to the experts here with the DIY band podcast.
Well, firstly, the text message thing is pretty hilarious, and I'll one-up you on that. We were talking not that long ago about going back to literally posting things in the post, in the mail.
Nice.
So whenever, if you sell merch to people, you steal their address and then send them out personalised letters or something. No. We've got all this shit happening in the coming months, but we haven't done it, and it's probably not worth the hassle. But obviously, email is the way to go. And because we've already mentioned all the problems with the social media as being the only promotion, but not enough bands have their own websites, I think, now, and being able to capture all those email addresses, and people can open those emails in their own leisure when they've got time, because they might log on to Facebook once or twice a day, and you've got to compete with your event link against a video of like a taxi driver busting out a rap song. So, and people obviously prefer to see those ridiculous videos from the Lad Bible or whatever.
Or doggos or whatever it is.
Totally, but websites honestly aren't that expensive. $100 a year and a little bit of effort learning how to do it, and you get your built-in mailing lists, and people do still sign up to them, believe it or not, and it's just a way better way to reach people and a bit more personal. And yeah, if you're going on tour and you're going to 10 different cities, you can segment your email list and, get to the people that you want to get to. But also flyers is awesome, and I think that personal face-to-face thing where they actually get to meet the band member, that's amazing.
It's cool. It's cool. It's like I talk to a lot of guys who I hold in high regard, who've done a lot, promoters, booking agents, guys that you'll know, and they will shit on those old school ways and just say, no, it's not worth the time. And you go, no way, like you got to do it. I mean, even I got to a point where I hit up about 8 bands across the country, and I made a combined flyer that advertised 8 bands, 4 on each side. Sort of more of the melodic side of stuff, so power metal, thrash, probably sort of folk stuff and whatever. And I printed off like a couple thousand copies of that. I divvied them out to all the bands involved, and for us anyway, and I let everyone do whatever they wanted with the flyers, but for us, because we were getting so many orders at the time, I think we must have had a new album at the time, I put them in every order. So suddenly 8 bands were getting exposure to all of our fan base across the world. And, most people probably look and go, whatever, and chuck it in the bin. But you never know. Like, some people get really enthusiastic. And I think if you're buying directly from the band, you probably got a degree of music enthusiasm where you feel encouraged to go and check out another band. So stuff like that, it sounds so old school, but fuck, it works.
Yeah, do you remember when like you get a CD from Nuclear Blast or something like that, Metal Hammer, somewhere, and it would rock up with stickers and sometimes even promo CDs of other bands and stuff, and upcoming gigs, which were never relevant to me because I don't live in Germany, but just heaps of shit, and you felt like, oh, this is cool, and maybe I'll get a CD from them next time because I might find something interesting. And I used to eat all that stuff up, but it doesn't happen so much. But people still do it, like Dicey Prime Cuts.
No,
Dicey does. Definitely chucks in lots of free stuff, and also I'm not sure whether it still happens, probably not. But when if you ever used to order things from Psychroptic online, Dave Haley would chuck in extra discs of random death metal bands from all around the world, and that's just a good way to you feel like you're a bit more in the scene. You're finding about these underground bands that you wouldn't have found out if you hadn't have purchased something off their web store. So that's pretty amazing.
It's good. I mean, we, for a couple of years there, and we still kind of do it now, like we used to shout out to bands because there's so many local bands that would just have piles of old shitty CDR demos sitting under their bed collecting dust because they couldn't sell them anymore, trying to give them away for free. No one wanted them. And I said, just pay for the postage, but get them over to me and I'll just give them out. And we used to say to our fans, like, every time you order something from us, you'll get at least 1 free CD and a bunch of other random shit, depending on what we had. So it'd be flyers, stickers, all sorts of crap. And it was great. And we put a little note in there to say, basically, an acknowledgement to them. Thank you for supporting. But also, check out some of the other great Australian bands and support them. And gave a few links to some of the web zines. We're doing great things as well. And a bit of cross-promotion. So it's great for our fans. They got bang for buck. It's great for other bands because they got to get rid of all their old shit and get to reach more people. And it was good for us because people kept coming back and ordering stuff from us because they got extra shit in there. It was like an incentive to go and buy a CD or a shirt from us. It's so good. And
it's similar to when you're saying you hand a flyer to a guy on the street and it's you in the band.
Yeah.
And people lose their minds. But yeah, like I've ordered stuff from like Dave Haley, for instance, or guys from overseas, and it's like the dude from the band and you've got his return email, fucking home address. Yeah. You're like, oh, I could stalk this guy if I had $2,000 for a flight. But that all reminds me of, Frank Zappa. Ever heard of this guy, Frank Zappa?
Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy that ended up joining Zappa's band, he was like 25, used to ring up, it's like the Zappa hotline, and it would be an answering machine message. I think of Frank Zappa going like, hi guys, I'm playing in fucking Omaha next week, or something like that. And he used to ring up to find out what Zappa was doing, and one day he said, I'm getting the band back together, and the guy rang up his management, and next thing he's in the band. But wouldn't that be cool to just, everyone's on a mobile phone, like have like a hotline or something? Claim its own hotline?
You can totally steal this idea.
An app?
Yeah, an app would be awesome. I had this idea a while back and I was just too lazy to execute it. But I wanted a thing on our website where it was a 1-800 number or just a number, and you could call it and you could leave a voicemail. And what we would do is that after a month, and hopefully you'd actually get people to call the number. That's the whole main thing. But if you got enough voice messages, then each month you would put up like a YouTube video or something like that with just the audio of all the messages that have been left over that month, and you just keep doing that. And so people would call in just so that, because they know that it's going to be published later on. So yes, you get your idiot mates to be caught up going, you guys are a bunch of fucks, rah, rah. But you'd also get...
good, though.
Yeah, but that makes it funny as well. So you'd have a mix of like your mates, but also people from all over the world that would call in and leave a message or something like that. And I actually did some research. I was talking to a few guys that worked in telco because I'm trying to find like software that would record straight off voicemail without actually having like a tangible voicemail recorder. And there was a couple of websites that had it. I have to go back through my old emails, but I just never followed through with it. But that's one thing that it's just that interaction, that connection between fan and band, which would just be so cool.
Well, we did do the thing, on our podcast, which we don't do anymore, but we had done in the early days. Yeah, we had our website through WordPress, and there's a plugin called SpeakPipe that you can have. So when people go to the website, they can record a message.
Oh, man.
And then we would play that on the podcast. And we'd get the occasional ones, but it wouldn't be regular enough to warrant it, really. We might get, one fan thing every month.
It was mainly me going, is this thing working?
And then we'd play them on the thing. But I think fans like that if you make the effort to give them a chance to get their voice heard. They appreciate that.
It's mad. I think it's so good. It's such a good way to connect, and people love. It's so underrated, and I think people forget about it. But I think people get so psyched when they're acknowledged, even if they just get a tip of the hat to say, like, I'm aware that you exist. And it sounds so ego driven, but it's not like that at all. Like, we're all fans of music, and we've got people that we've grown up with and idolized, and bands that we love, and on those occasions where we get to associate with these amazing bands and they turn around, they look at you and have a conversation, you sit there and go, oh, hello. And it's amazing. It's so good, but it's such a simple thing. And a lot of bands forget about it. And I'll shit on the last two bands on my podcast, Alkira and Espionage. Fuck you guys. Because when you were talking about before about websites, I'm putting show notes in for the podcast, and I'm going, all right, I've got to find their website. And neither of them have websites.
Yeah, I have the same thing when I'm doing worksheets for gigs, and I go to put in the band's websites. They don't have them.
No, they both got Facebook pages and Bandcamp. Fair enough, that's cool, but you need a proper website.
When the time's right. Don't rush it, I guess, if you're a brand spanking new band, but definitely.
Yeah.
Don't rush into it. I'm going to drink.
I was about to do that. All right.
Yeah,
Ash is getting us
whatever.
drinks.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, I'll throw one more promo idea at you.
Do it.
We're going to see the Storm Rider Festival tonight
Yes,
in
we
Perth,
are.
obviously, and Stu, who runs that, had a pretty awesome promo thing for this this festival, which I thought was really interesting and cool. In the world of streaming that we're in today, he has a Spotify playlist with all the bands playing at the festival. So, a lot. Well, most people will at least have a Spotify or an Apple Music subscription or whatever. It's growing, so I think that's a good way to do it, as opposed to maybe printing a compilation CD and handing them out in the streets. A lot of people might just chuck them in the bin or whatever, but
It's hard because I love the tangible thing. I love getting the CD, and I think that's cool, and I think it appeals to people. But I think more and more now, people are gravitating towards that digital stuff. And I was talking to Alex from Voyager last night, and Voyager fucking so against Spotify and all that stuff. I think they a while back, I remember them making a big song and dance about it online, and I get it, and I'm on the fence because I love what Spotify is, and I think it can be great for bands. I think it's a great exposure tool. It's not a revenue tool whatsoever. Like, you're not going to make money off it, but the reach can be incredible if it's used right. But
it's a tough one. I'm also on the fence about it, and I can definitely see it from both sides. But either the people that are into Spotify now are probably the same people that would stream the album for free off YouTube anyway.
That's it.
So, you get a couple of bucks and a bit of more exposure, and Spotify does allow you to advertise your stuff a bit, tour dates and merch and your bio and that. So it's kind of cool, and as much as musicians hate to hear it, if you give away your music for free, then you can get more fans to come to your gigs and buy your merch, and there's that argument that people do hate, but I don't know, it's a tough one.
do you find that now more so than ever before? How long have you guys been around for?
10 and a bit years, 11, 12, something.
So compared to when you guys were just getting started and how much the internet has changed, sounds so weird still referring to it as the internet. I'm sure it's going to change its name eventually. It's going to be like
Something
Life
awesome,
or something like that.
Yeah, real life.
Now that we've got Life here, but do you find that it's easier to connect with fans as opposed to probably 10 years ago where you would have to rely purely on trying to do this blanket blanket approach and try and hit as many people, and you'd find that majority of the people that you're trying to pitch to are casual fans that don't give a fuck about your band, might like one song if you're lucky, and you miss sort of all those hardcore fans, whereas now you can really sort of pinpoint those loyal fans. Now you can really sort of you can find that niche audience. Like, you don't have to worry about trying to find 100,000
yes and no, man. I know what you're saying, and definitely it is good for that, but you also get those people now with the internet. You just get like 1,000 Facebook messages from people going, hi, your band, I like you, and you're like, they're not a hardcore fan, but they just, I don't know, just giving you the shit. So they say, can you send us your pics in the mail, or can you send us
you guys have
something?
You guys have played Southeast Asia?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where is that exactly?
It's in the southeast of Asia.
I don't actually know what that means, but we have played in Asia.
You played in
So
Asia?
is that Japan?
No, I don't think Japan's
Well, Southeast Asia is like Jakarta, I guess.
Okay.
So it's
Indonesia,
Singapore,
that side.
Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam.
We've done Penang, Jakarta,
you've done a few
Bali,
places,
and then Japan and South Korea on the
So
other side.
we've played Malaysia and Singapore. We haven't played Indonesia, but we'll see you guys in a couple of months at Hammersmith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, damn. Megadeth.
Yeah, oh, fuck. I got it. Yeah, yeah. If I do say so myself. Actually,
At Hammersonic.
well, I think we will, because I laughed about 2 days ago, or whatever it was. There was an email from Brad, and it was he was introducing a bunch of people to the local contacts over in Indonesia. And it's like, hi, such and such. This is Andy, manager for Lord. This is Cabba, manager for Claim the Throne. This is Lewis, manager of Depravity, or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm like podcasting these guys this weekend. So it's going to be small world.
So you are meeting up with Louis?
Yeah, I'm going
Ah.
to do it tonight. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said. I said, who else is he doing? I was like, gotta do Louis, right?
Yeah, well, I was actually talking to him, and he's like, oh, man, I can only talk about metal. Hey, I don't know if I can talk about anything else.
Sounds like Louis.
I said, do relax. I'm like, you do so many things. You just tell me war stories about playing through Asia. And he's like, oh, man, that would be the best. All right, no worries.
Louis is awesome.
Hey, yeah, I can't wait. But I don't even know. Southeast Asia, one thing that I've noticed with that is even just playing in more so Malaysia than Singapore, there's a big different. The demographic is completely different. And when we play Kuala Lumpur, there's so many Indonesians that work in Malaysia, and the chaos that's involved in a gig like that is just insane. And one thing that when we finished playing, like, we got rushed on stage by everyone that was there. Anything that wasn't locked down, people were trying to grab and salvage souvenir. I had like my little vest on, my little heavy metal vest, and some people were going, yeah, photos, and then people like grabbing my jacket, going, jacket. And I'm like, no, you can't have that. I'm like, pick. And I'm like, no.
Penis.
And it was, and our tour manager, who was based in Singapore, that was helping us book the shows, he was like guarding the t-shirts. He had them on the ground, and people were coming up trying to steal a t-shirt, and he's like almost like a mother or a father slapping a child, and people would come up, and he was like,
You guys
slapping
must
them on
have
their
gone
head.
off then.
It was crazy, but it was like in this loft thing in this building, and it was probably like 60 payers. It wasn't a lot.
It was at like Sounds. Oh, that was. Yeah.
I'll have to have a look.
So that
and
was
see.
Penang. I didn't know where the fuck ours was. But yeah, same thing. It's like third floor.
No ventilation whatsoever.
This
Toilet paper whatsoever.
No,
feels like the same place. No lock on the toilet door.
it was crazy.
Massive diarrhea from me.
And
What is actually awesome though, and I don't know whether they do that because they're actually so excited to have bands over or something,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it was the same at yours, but there was they would sort of have an MC for the night who introduces all the bands before you start playing. I think that's a pretty cool touch.
I like it. I reckon that should be something we should introduce into the Australian scene. I reckon there's a guy in Victoria, Mitch Alexander, I think. He's a comedian. I think he played in, I don't know enough about this guy, but I've seen him being talked about. And I think he played in a metal band, and he's become like this heavy metal comedian. And he does a couple of like the odd shows here and there. I think the Oz Ocalypse or whatever it is, that one in Bendigo that's on each year, and he does some MCing there. And he was introducing bands. And I reckon if you had an MC that just did a bit of an intro, I reckon it'd be fucking hilarious.
I might do an intro tonight.
Please do.
Yeah, MC. We were in Melbourne, and there was this is just watching a gig
Yep.
in a tiny little place with, $6 beers they probably weren't allowed to sell behind the bar. Total shithole, one of the worst venues I ever saw. But a Perth band called Death Fucking Cunt were playing. So we went to see him, catch up, say hi. Knew Blake was there, that was cool. And this guy comes up and does a stand-up set in between, and it just went down like a pile of shit. It was so bad. And
I was waiting for it to go. It just went down so well.
No, everyone was just sort of like kind of laughing at him, but he was also in on the laughing at himself.
He was
Like,
taking a
this
piss
is
out of
bombing
himself.
so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty hilarious. And then DFC go on, and that is the end of the story.
I reckon it'd be pretty cool. I think that's one thing that we're missing in like the Australian scene is like we've become so accustomed to just putting on a gig. It's just a gig. You got a headliner, you got a couple of supports, and when you promote it, the bands are like, "Oh man, this is gonna be the biggest night ever. Come down. This is gonna be brutal." And everyone's like,
800 people saying they're attending on Facebook.
"Yeah, 20 turn up." But there's no more of the whole event thing associated with it. People don't actually push it as an event. I always love it when someone turns around and gives it some spastic name like, heavy metal fucking annihilation or whatever. And you feel like face palming yourself, but at the same time, it kind of works because it makes it feel like if you don't go, you miss out. It's this one-off event. It's kind of cool. And not that I'm saying to people that you should call it heavy metal annihilation, because
I think that's taken by 55 gigs in Perth this year so far. We've tried to do a few things in the past to vary it up a bit, because I definitely agree with you. It's just a gig and there's 4 bands and it's over. But we've done things before like a quiz night, metal quiz night, where we play and come up with all sorts of weird and wonderful questions about metal bands and whatever, and sell tickets as a table. So we might only sell 20 tickets, but everyone needs to buy a ticket for 10 people per table sort of thing, and that's really cool. And you can still have a band or two playing, and also the river cruises that they also do in Melbourne as well, and we try to do it over here. It's just something different, I guess. And
there's one coming up you guys are doing.
Yeah.
River cruise one?
And it's also a heavy metal formal.
Yes,
So it's a ball, so we're expecting everyone to wear tuxedos and ball gowns.
Is that everything's acoustic as well?
No, four metal bands playing. And we'll have a slow
Thanks.
dance competition.
I was going to say, I hope
metal
there's
ballads.
some waltzing there. Yeah.
There'll definitely be that. Hopefully some people will rock up in limos, give some awards out to the belle of the ball, the guy belle of the ball. I definitely think that not enough bands think outside the square and turn their gig into an event or an experience, and maybe just an MC is enough to turn it into a whole thing. Maybe we can introduce Lord at Hammersonic.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, look out. Here's the ideas going.
Have you seen Dicey's Kirudali, Jakarta?
No.
He talks in Indonesian for the... it's not out?
I don't know.
Well, some inside goss coming up.
Is this him recording? Oh, did you do the intro of it? Yeah, we've done ours as well. Yeah, I got the short straw for that one.
Did you do it in Indonesian?
No, I didn't do it.
So he did, because he speaks a bit.
Yeah.
And it could get him out, and he basically wants to do that festival just so he can talk in Indonesian to the crowd.
Mad.
Nothing to do with us at all, so...
Might have to...
Some,
get some Indonesian slice.
no.
Might have to
Your guy
utilise
won't be
this...
cutting that out. And,
31 minutes and 30 seconds.
Sorry, guys. It could have been worse. It's all right.
See, I edit our podcast, so we get to say what we want, and I just put in a track marker, like, take that out, sir.
And I tell people we don't edit our podcast because I don't know about it.
I keep telling people, I'll send you a copy of the podcast before it goes out, and I just forget.
Yeah, we don't do that either.
No. Okay, so
Let's cut the crap.
speaking of the podcast, the Blodgecast, you guys, and I'll be completely upfront and honest, are part of the influence of me starting mine.
Oh.
And not that means, I don't know, it means what it is. But I think it was so genius to hear you guys do it from a DIY point of view, be really transparent and honest, because so many bands up until recently were so, I think so many bands were so fixated on trying to make it mysterious and make it look like we're bigger than what we are. We're making a lot more money than what we are. We've got more fans than what we actually do. And even we were like that as well. We would try and push it, make ourselves bigger and better than what we are. And the realities were just so fucking poor and horrible. But for you guys went totally for the DIY approach. You're really transparent about what you guys did and the hustle between trying to get gigs. I mean, the episode that you guys did ages back when you did the US tour and getting the RV and all that sort of stuff and the visas and all that sort of stuff and going through
Emptying the piss on the ground.
Yeah, but it was so good because that was prior to us playing in the US, and we had a different scenario all completely to that. But to me, when I was listening to that, we were in the mindset of we've got to try and start looking to book club shows in the US and try and look at what it takes to do it. And here I was with a notebook, listening to you guys talk about it, and I'm going, all right, okay, so I've got to do this, got to do that. And I thought, this is amazing that another band is just throwing it out there, because a lot of bands are so fucking reluctant to tell other bands what goes on. It's like this competitive thing between bands, and maybe you've been hanging with too many Melbourne bands. Shit on Melbourne bands.
The way I look at it, I hate that this thing that's come around that bands will give that extra information to you, the behind-the-scenes information, if you pay them first. Whereas we look at it, we'll give you that information to try and get you as a fan, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's, people look at it the wrong way around. To tell you about the Blodgecast, though, first one time someone was telling us a story about Nurgle from Behemoth and how he had a blog, and he said, I read his blodge, and we ran with it and turned it into a podge and just went with it. One of these weird inside jokes that we've just kept the name.
That's
ridiculous.
How it came about.
Yeah, I don't know if we've actually explained that on the podcast, but anyway.
I think we've done it about 9 times because we enjoy Hop Hog when we do a podcast.
Mad. Okay.
The whole thing about it is that Cab is a marketing guy,
Yep.
a marketing whiz, and I like trying to record and like get better at music. And so we were listening to heaps of podcasts, and we thought, oh, that's cool. Like, it's a great way to find information. And we thought maybe if someone would do that for us, we wouldn't have to search so fucking hard to find out how to do things like put on a show in America, which is, I mean, the concept is pretty easy. You email someone and that's it. It's a whole lot of other shit that goes with it. But I think a lot of time people just need to know it can be done by someone as like pretty low key and normal and living in the northern suburbs of Perth, such as me and Cabba. So yeah, anyway, we did it, recording gear. It's pretty easy. We've got it right in front of us. We're at a pub.
That's it. I mean, do you find that since you've put it out, like put the podcast out there and you've done a bunch of episodes, and what do you guys do? Roughly one a month, roughly?
It varies. Sometimes it'd be one a week, and sometimes it'd be one every 3 months. But average, yeah. Probably.
Do you find that you've found a lot more people because of it, or you've connected with people that you wouldn't expect because of?
Well, this very interview, I guess.
Yeah.
And now there's definitely a few people that appreciate it more than others, and it's pretty awesome when you get a message every now and again, and they'll say, "Oh, I listened to such and such episode, and I learnt this, and thanks so much. I wouldn't have known otherwise."
Yeah.
And it was the same for us before we started. Like Ash said, we were just getting into podcasts. And listening to all sorts of random podcasts, and you go to look for music ones, and there's not really many out there for musicians, so it was sort of like a good chance to jump on that and provide what we were looking for ourselves, I guess. But the way we were actually starting it was, the whole idea was to be a studio diary when we're recording our last album, and because a lot of bands sort of do the photos or a blog or something to tell people what they're up to in the studio, we were like, let's just talk about it and record it, and that's the podcast. But we found that we're too busy recording an album to do that.
Yeah, first episode was like March. We're like, all right, so next week we start recording. Next episode, October. So fucking home recording is a shit idea. Album's not out. This is all going south real fast. And yeah, we just continue from
I'm
there.
trying to do that now with my podcast, because I was talking to the guys in the band, because I haven't had, I don't know, the guys probably don't give a shit, but it's on my mind. I haven't put any of the guys from the band on my podcast so far, and the bands and the podcast.
We've
been
tried
around for
and they're not interested.
Well, I heard the one with Dicey. That was all right. That was okay.
You do that.
Jesse's guested, and that's like, hey, Cab is here. What are we doing today, guys? We're like, well, you're leaving, and we're going to do a podcast. It's like, oh, why can't I sit in? So she'd sit in and say like, whatever, like more as a co-host.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty embarrassing being interviewed. This is the first time we've been on someone else's podcast.
Do you find it's hard when you're doing a podcast? I mean, for the both of you guys together, you've done it, you know, as a co-host sort of thing. So that definitely helps. But when you're talking to somebody that you know and you've known for so long, does it feel a little bit like you're playing radio? Like, oh, hey, come and play radio with me. We've got, because I'm reluctant, because I'm reluctant to do it with the guys in the band. I've always been, the good thing about my podcast is that I'll talk to anyone and everyone. So family, friends, professional, music, whatever it is. But the people that are closest to me that I've known for so long, they're the people that I still have not had on the podcast, because I feel like if I sit down and I'm having a chat, I'm like, so we're going to play radio now. Yeah. We're going to try and have a fabricated conversation and try and be natural about it.
Short answer, yes, like Ash said, but sort of, I guess you just need to not creep people out about it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, yeah, don't just whip the microphone out when they're not expecting it or anything, but I find that if you choose the right people to join the show, you find that they actually want to talk about these things as well, and you wouldn't normally do it because you go out to the pub and you're drinking and you just talk shit and it's whatever. But when in reality, they actually want to talk about metal, or they want to talk about touring, or they want to know what you're up to, and vice versa. So I think, you know, after a couple of hop hogs and you know, a chat on the first question, it flows pretty smooth.
It goes quickly, yeah.
But also, like, when we're talking to people we don't know, we're trying to find out about them. But when we're talking to people we know, we already know about them.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes a bit embarrassing to go like, so I've known you for 10 years, but when did you start, you know, getting in bands or something? And they're like, I told you back in 1996, you dickweed. Or, you know, there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it is a bit awkward. And I think if you listen to the start of our podcast, one of our first interviews was a guy I've been in bands with since I was like 18. And he came on the show. We know him really well. And because we were so used to like listening to interview format podcasts, you're like, so when you're playing a guitar, do you like a pick to be heavy or light? And he's like, yes, well, interesting. I use Dunlop Tortex picks. And it's, yeah. But in later years, we figured out, look, if we know them, let's just have a drink. Even if we don't, just have a drink and just chat and hang out. And that stuff comes, and if it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. I think the best thing about podcasts is that you can shit talk and you can just let it run, and usually that's where the gold comes. Something will eventually come through out of natural conversation and make it worth it.
Most recently, we had an episode with Ryan Smith, who is probably going to be there tonight. He's like a Perth power metal local legend.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I've known him for years,
Yeah.
like years and years, and more increasingly over the last year. I had this podcast with him. He's not super active in bands at the moment, and just having a chat and a lot of beers. And then the next gig I went to, almost everyone came up to me like, oh yeah, I heard your episode with Smitty, it was great. And I'm like, you listened to the podcast? Oh no, I didn't, but then you interviewed Smitty and it was great. And you know, even people who have been long time listeners are suddenly like, yeah, I think you guys have really nailed it from that one. It's like, what the hell? Like, it actually had like everything to do with music, but nothing to do with music. It was just chatting. And
it's weird. Like some of the best podcast episodes that I've done have been people that have been so close to the inner circle of like mates in sort of metal and just shit talking for. I mean, one was, I don't know if you know Anwar from
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I did one with him. And we went for 3 hours on the phone, just like back and forth, just talking shit, talking about metal and whatever. And it was fun. It was like a really sort of natural flowing conversation. But I sort of put it out there and thought, oh, it is what it is. Like, if people know us, then they'll like it. But anybody else, whatever. Still to this day, probably one of the highest listened to episodes. And people will still come to me and say, I love that one with Anwar. And you go, really? Like, not the one with the guy that had like the double lung transplant, or Tony Barber, or these other ones
so
that have really
crazy. You did Tony Barber. How the hell did you hook that up?
Well,
you don't have to give, but whatever.
No. Somebody sent me his Facebook page like 2 years ago, and he had a picture of him syncing a VB as his profile photo, and I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was a fake account, so I added it, and then I realized it was actually him. Then about 18 months ago, I messaged him and said, I've got this podcast. Like, look, I'm special. Would you like to be on it? And he said, it depends. He was trying to be funny. He said something like, as long as it's not past my bedtime. And I said, well, what's your bedtime? And he didn't reply for like 3 weeks. And then I pushed him again, and he replied, and it just didn't happen. And then about 12 months later, I finally hit him up again and said, how about it? And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
What the hell, eh?
And
That's
it's so cool. He's
Yeah.
just like, the awesome thing about people like that is that for him, he's like retired from the business. He's not doing anything anymore. Like, he's just chilling out down in regional Victoria. He's got the beautiful place, and he's happy to have a yarn and talk shit for an hour. And it was amazing. It was so good.
But people dig podcasts.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not a formal interview
Yeah.
and it's a bit more long format, it's not like, okay, we got 10 questions to figure out who you are. If we don't like it, you can get out. But, when you're just having a yarn, can be a bit awkward at the start,
Yeah.
but then as you get into it,
It's
who
amazing
cares?
how quickly it changes from
Yeah.
when you begin that conversation. You're trying to find the ground. You're trying to find where you sit in the conversation. You're trying to like sound them out, and so it's very sort of cold and awkward. And then the momentum kicks in, and by the
Yeah.
end of it, oh fuck, here comes Cabba with 3 hop hogs.
hot hogs are so good, by the way. If you live in
This
another
is a
country,
sweet beer. This is really
another
good.
country, another state, you should try them.
I just ordered 3 pints of hot hog, please. And she goes, we don't sell hot hog anymore. I said, I've already had 2 of them today. She says, oh, they must have brought it back. Okay.
You might want to ask the other guys you work with because
Yeah.
they've already served us.
Maybe
Cheers,
it's something
guys.
else.
All right,
Oh, cheers.
we'll do a
Good
quick
times.
cheers. Cheers. All right, sweet. What I was going to say is, on that point, it's funny how the people that are so close in those inner circles, they're the most popular podcasts. And to me, that's sort of the lesson I learned from that is that I'm always pushing so hard to try and find like the most unique, special guest, somebody that people go, what the fuck? Why is he talking to that person? And that's fine, I can do it. But sometimes the person that's in that inner circle, that's playing in a band or whatever, will get the best response from the crowd. I was saying like Amwa was like one of the highest listener downloaded episodes I've done. It's just incredible. 3 hours of shit talking, but it was amazing, and everyone loved it. And everyone kept messaging, going, "Amwa's is the best." It's
I
so
take it
good.
you've already spoken about us. Well, I mean, we've even done ones with our actual fans.
Smitty,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, Smitty,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
use that as an
Smitty.
example.
But
yeah.
one of our, we also had a popular one, which was like, we've got. It's funny how every band has like a fanboy
Yeah.
that they know will definitely buy the new CD when it's out or whatever. We've got one of those. His name's Amos Polglaze. He'll be listening to this. And we had him on once, and it was really cool to sort of interview him about what he looks for in a band and what he appreciates and what he wants that other bands don't do, I guess, and that sort of thing. And people love listening to that, even though they don't know who Amos Polglaze is, apart from when we mention him every episode. But it's a cool way of doing it. And Smitty also is a good one. And yeah.
I think I might have to steal that idea. There's a guy that bought a CD off. We put an eBay auction up a week or so ago for an old EP that we just sold out as soon as we put it out, and it sold for like $200. It was just fucking ridiculous, like dumb. Like I thought it might get $50 if we were lucky, and it just went crazy.
Yeah.
And so now I'm thinking maybe I should have that guy on and chat to him, because that guy, time in, time out, just you can rely on that guy, and he will just throw money on the line. And you've got to be careful, because you don't want to take advantage of it, because I could just go, oh, hey, I've got a receipt that I...
jocks here.
Yeah, I got my jocks, I'm going to sign it, put them up on eBay, sweet. Oh, 500, yep, done. Just take it. Yeah, I'll sniff them.
But it's perfect because, that was the whole premise behind the Amos thing. Like, we knew he was a regular fan, but Cab was looking through some PayPal stuff and went like, hang on a minute. You've spent, almost $500 in the last calendar year on Claim the Throne merch.
Wow.
What the hell are you doing and why? So we got him over.
10 more people like him. If we had 10 more people like him, we'd be loaded,
Yeah, we'd be making a wage. But either way, I think with fans and mega fans and stuff like that, I'm going to lose my train of thought because I've had a lot of hot hogs. Well, actually, not that many, but
They're big hop hogs.
I don't know.
we were talking about my lack of breakfast this morning.
If you are playing drums and you break a cymbal on stage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I saw Ailstorm did this where he broke a cymbal and then would
These
sell
guys
it at
are
the merch
masters.
stand.
These guys are the masters.
Well,
of
yeah,
stuff,
just sign it, sell
Yeah.
it at the merch stand, and that's $35. I'm like, dude, is it even worth it? He goes, hey, it buys me a bottle of Plonk or whatever it may be. So I go, oh, yeah, okay, sure. So I put 2 cymbals at the merch stand, threw, I think I threw like $35 on them or something like that, right? Anyway, one guy, a band I was actually recording for at the time, like I was engineering, he walks up, he goes, what's the deal with that cymbal? And I go, oh, it's broken. It's, for fans to buy. And he goes, oh shit, I need a new China. I'm like, that is not a new China. It's dead. Anyway, he goes, oh, how much? Oh, I'll buy that. And I was like, dude, just have it. Amos walks up and he goes, are you selling that? I've got money at home. And we gave him a lift home. And sorry, Amos, but I was desperate for cash at the time. So I took his 35 and knocked it down to 30. And I was like, there you go.
But
anyway.
Ailstorm are the masters of that. I remember them doing they ripped off the toilet seat at one point and they signed the toilet seat, put it on the merch table.
Oh, really?
And
I haven't heard that one, but I love it.
I've loved
Sounds about right.
I love it. Because
One
it
amazing-
works for them. It works for them because it's,
Does. And an amazing thing about Ailstorm, as big as they've got now, sporadically over these years, they're happen to be one of the biggest metal bands in the world, I guess. But their new album's coming out soon, and the press release for their new album is just so ridiculous. And the amount of in-jokes and ridiculous humour in this press release just brought me to fucking tears laughing.
Because you guys had toured with them in the UK.
We have, years ago. And it was, it's funny. They sort of took off out of nowhere. The whole pirate metal thing was a bit of just a muck around joke thing for them, I think.
I remember seeing a video of them playing at a festival in Germany.
Well, they were huge in Germany.
But 10 plus years ago, and they look so awkward on stage. And you look and you go, it almost looks like somebody's giving them a golf clap and said, all right, guys, you can have your shot. Go on stage, go on. And you watch it and you go, it's so awkward. But now they smash it.
They do smash it. And you'd never know because we did the 70,000 tons cruise in America with them. Well, not with them, but we were there. They were there. We were both playing on the bill. Actually, we played just before them. So it was return to old times for us, which was cool. And same thing. All right, cool. We're between shows for a day. Gravedigger's on.
Yep.
And so, just go into the crowd with Chris Bowes and watch him dance to Chris Boltondale. You know what I mean? It was just, they're just such obviously normal people. They love what they do, but, they just have fun with it. And that's what we've always tried to do. So, it's fucking hilarious.
We haven't played with Ailstorm, but I know Gareth. I helped him get an ESP endorsement, and I've met Chris because Glory Hammer were going to do Prog Power with us last year, and it didn't quite. Their visas got fucked for that.
I was going to say visa issues. I'm sure.
Yes, there were some major visa issues.
Yeah, he got married in Vegas.
Yeah, I heard there was some last minute problems with that one. But the Lagerstein guys got me in when they did the last Australian tour in Melbourne, and I've never consumed so much alcohol in my life than I have with that. Because I don't know if you guys know Andrew Craig.
That's a big call coming from someone who's smashed 8 pints by 2 o'clock.
I know.
Yeah, we know Andrew
It's
Craig.
all downhill.
Yeah, we know Mr. Andrew Craig,
AC,
drummer
yeah.
extraordinaire. How many stick twirls can we do with these pints we got in our hand?
What sort of facial expressions are we talking about here? Good guy.
How massive can we open our mouths up?
We will lick him out.
I would totally lick him out. I love Andy. He's a fucking awesome
He's
dude.
good. He's
And
good.
also Andrew Craig as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, cheers. No, he's a good dude, and he was I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He was he was doing sound or something for one of the bands. I think he's a band whore. He was just jumping on for something. He was just trying to be a part of it. But he got me backstage after it, and then I was sitting on the side of the stage drinking Captain Morgan's out of a Mount Franklin bottle while Ailstorm were on stage, and we had plastic chairs along the back of behind the drum riser, and they were so fucked. Chris was on the ground on his back, he couldn't even get up, and the whole band were trying to kick him to get up and perform, and it was just the most chaotic thing. And I've always seen ourselves, well, not so much now, but years ago, just being this booze hound band, just drinking beers on stage and being chaotic and loose and whatever. And I watched that and we're nothing. We're schoolboys. This is nothing.
The drunkest I've ever been on stage, and believe me, I'm in Claim of Throne. I've been drunk before. And we were in Leeds with Ailstorm. Had some time to kill. Went to some sort of pub. Tequila Sunrise are on special. So we had like, 3 or 4 of them at the
Yeah.
pub, all good. Go back to the tour bus, stop past Aldi on the way. Oh, it's really cheap booze. So
Aldi
I grabbed a bottle of tequila. I was like, let's keep this party going. Anyway, we all grabbed bottles, right? So just blah, 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 fucking tequila's going. Got to the end of, sound check. Looked at my bottle of tequila and it was gone via my stomach. And I went, oh shit, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I go, yeah, I'm coasting. This is not too bad. Got on stage to play. Totally packed. It was like 300, 350 cap, but about 400, 450 people shoved in there.
Awesome.
And it got to a point in the set, I'm like, I think I'm either going to shit myself or fall over, but I think I'm pulling it off. And then Jim, our bass player, turned around and looked at me and he's like mouthed to me, laughing, what are you doing? And I'm like, Jim Parker's telling me, what are you doing?
He likes a beer, doesn't he?
Oh, for fuck's sake. You ever seen him in your hometown of Sydney?
I've been a fan from afar.
Dear Lord.
Jim. I don't think actually maybe I have probably met him, but
you would have, but
yeah,
just drunken. Drunken.
That's it. There's a lot of amazing people I've met in my time.
He's a human machine.
That guy loves to consume alcohol, and if he's telling you what the fuck's going on,
Hey, the best gym thing I've ever seen was just before I joined Claim of Throne, watching them play the Perth Western Front Metal Awards. Perth Night of Nights, and I'm standing in the crowd next to Jesse's mum, and watching them. Oh yeah, they're doing really good. I'm like, yeah, they are doing good. What's Jim doing? He's walking behind the amp to piss in a pint glass and yak up in another one. He's a fucking unit.
He's a loose unit. Far out.
Human animal. I heard Animal by Jebediah the other day.
Oh, yuck. How many Just Aces did that take?
We
like to talk about
speaking
Green Screen a lot.
of, I was going to say, literally, before I got in the Uber to come here,
You were listening to Guide to
I was
Better
listening
Living.
to the last episode of the Blodgecast, and you're talking about cutting your hair. So you look, and with your hat on, you look a little bit like Scotty in from Anthrax.
That's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, you got the goatee thing happening. That's all right. Yeah. Mad. And then I had to stop, and it wasn't because out of disgust or anything like that, but I had to stop right when you're talking about Smashing Pumpkins. I had to sort of let it go there. But I don't even know where I was going with that.
It's just good to talk about 90s rock bands,
Oh, no, Just Ace. Just Ace. And you were talking about how many times you got to sing it in the shower or whatever.
This was actually, because that episode only came out the other day, and we were texting each other once it was out, listening to it, going, what has this podcast become? Within the first 4 minutes, we're talking about how many times you can listen to Just Ace in the shower. So using Just Ace as a unit of
I'm
measurement.
trying to think of the riff off Just Ace because... yeah. No, I was thinking of a Blink-182 riff because it's a very similar
Same
riff.
shit. Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
We use Smashing Pumpkins and Red Hot Chili Peppers for a lot of comparisons in terms of audio anyway. I have to share my podcast with Ash, and he talks about them a lot.
All right. So
Anyway.
I'm
But we're
watching
looking forward to interviewing you next time, by the way.
Shit.
Got questions about Lord and the antisocial, but we'll save that.
Yeah, and for fuck's sake, make yourself a bit more social while you're here, all over the place. I've never heard. I thought Lord must be playing. Because why is Andy crossing the country to interview 400 fucking people? We're not that motivated to do our podcast. What's the deal with that?
Frequent flyer points. Boom. Years and years of flying Virgin pays off. But I've got this goal for the year where I am going to do podcasts in every capital city of Australia for 2017.
So I take it you're going to Blacken the Globe?
No. Well, it's
Is
not
that a
capital
state?
city. No.
Oh.
But maybe I can... when's that? April? No.
Yeah, it's Easter weekend just after. So.
Yeah.
Crazy for you not to go to.
You could, whether your schedule permits, you could do it, cruise up to Darwin and meet up with Nocturnal or something like that. Really get it going.
Oh, Nocturnal. Yeah.
I'm sure they've featured on a few episodes of ours before.
What's that?
As is-
what
as
are those
have
guys?
Test Eagles.
Are Nocturnal those southern desert metal guys?
Similar.
Are they got a bit of a crossover members?
I honestly have no idea, but their film clips have been similar. But no, I think I don't really know the what the deal is with those
Deadly
guys.
metal.
They were just one of the early Australian new metal bands, to be honest. They beat a lot of the crowd, and
I got a Nocturnal CD.
then fucking Super Ice came out, and here we are.
And here we are.
So you could easily do that. You could cruise to Tassie, which I'm sure you probably got lined up for that when fucking Ulva are coming, or Ulva.
When's that in June, isn't it?
I don't know, but that's fucking awesome. Put on
Oh,
like
that was
chalky.
They're actually doing a tour.
that was out of the. Oh, is it?
Sure, they've got a big ass billboard in Melbourne, so I've heard.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure one of the billboards I saw was like it's a one-off thing.
Or advertising the festival.
Nah, that's it. Yeah, buy the tickets
Like
first.
Tasmania, the Tasmania tourism.
Norway to Tassie. Yeah, why not? Yeah,
Go
it's well
catch
worth it.
Lance Buddy Franklin in fucking Tasmania.
That'd be pretty mad.
Man, if there's some
When's that? I think it's
special
in-
deals on flights, I'll go. If Ash goes.
I think
Me
it's in
too.
June. I think it's in June. I'll have to check it out. All right, we'll see how we go. It's two things probably before I wrap it up. One is you've got a new podcast. Do you want to plug
Yes. Yeah, it's brand spanking. It was just a bit of on a whim, but I'll just keep doing it. It's called Band Tools, and again, it's because when you go searching for musician podcasts on iTunes and whatever, there's not a whole lot out there, so it's a good chance to do what I'm looking for, I guess. And the idea is just every episode is a platform online that is pretty good for bands to use.
that? Yeah.
And stuff that I've found helpful over the years, and also is a good chance for me to give out shit for free that I've been building over the last 10 years or so, of like actual templates and folders and all sorts of weird admin-y nerdy crap that I think a lot of musos would find handy that a lot of musos don't actually do. So, and it will also give you an idea of what other bands are doing and how to make yourself, professional, I guess. How to do a proper worksheet, how to do, how to communicate with your own band members, how to do shit as a band essentially, and
How to
so
function
tune
as
into
a
that.
band.
How to actually function, how to get on with each other, and I don't know, how to make your band not look like idiots when you're contacting other people.
That's cool.
It's essentially like what we started doing at the start of the Blodgecast,
Yeah.
where Cabba would have a segment about marketing, I'd have a segment about recording, and then it just turned into basically hop hogs and talking. And Cooper's Sparkling is also a favourite of ours, and especially at $18 for 3, if you can find it, do it, or 25 for 4, currently at BWS in Careen. Anyway, so Cabba's doing that, and it's, just to leave us to do our own devices.
Yeah.
I've started a podcast of my own.
Oh, yeah.
Which I haven't released yet because I need help from Cabba's band tools.
Yeah.
I need a band tool to be able to host and also distribute my podcast to various platforms like Stitcher
This is based on
and
recording?
iTunes. On recording.
Yeah.
So kind of like branching off.
So I listened to a previous episode with the guy from the US that did the he's doing the
Working class audio?
Yes. Yeah. So something similar along those lines.
Definitely, and the idea is that instead of, I don't know, just getting all these weird ass segments on the Claim the Throne Blodgecast, we'll have my little marketing thing and Ash's little audio thing, and then every time we do a Claim the Throne Blodgecast, we'll catch up and talk about our latest episode as well. So we have that marketing segment and the audio segment,
Good
bring them
crossover.
together and talk about them in Claim the Throne language.
Get it out of the way for more sparklings, but not the working class audio and those kind of audio ones. I like doing what we're doing, but then going like, so how do you make a living doing this? Well, I fucking don't, and Cabba doesn't doing his marketing,
Yeah.
and so it's more about like we tried something and we usually got it to work, but it probably failed and succeeded in areas and fucking whatever. And here it is. And if you want to try recording yourself, and if you need to record bass for the next Lord album,
Boom.
you
Yeah. if
might
I'm
listen to
too-
an episode
too
of my
fucking lazy.
podcast
Yeah.
and go like, you know what, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll save money on editing your own podcast one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Who can fucking handle the time? Too long.
Fuck, we're going to ask you some bass questions next
Oh
episode. I
yeah.
can't
Oh,
wait.
look
Hey.
out.
Anyway, point 2.
So what's your favourite bass recording rig, Andy?
I don't know. Plug it in.
Save that.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, so I've asked this so far. It's a recurring question. It's not very original, but I'm asking everybody. You can answer it individually or collectively as Claim the Throne, but in 5 years' time, where do you see yourselves, or where would you like to see yourselves? So you can be ambitious or realistic, whatever you want.
I would say the only goal that we haven't achieved to date is touring Europe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the only remaining goal is to play European festivals, basically. Wacken or Summer Breeze or Party Sand or any of those ones, we'd be super keen on that. But where do we see ourselves? I don't know. Like, we're pretty old now, so couple more years of
Giving
going
up
hard at trying to do cool things. And after that, I mean, we'll never break the band up, but we might just slow down and just write music and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we found the only barrier to doing music is possibly touring because of the money, the expense. And if you can't generate enough money to actually go on tour, then you can still keep a band going and record out of your bedroom. If you've got someone like Tim Gross manning the controls, if you don't want to record your own bass. But yeah, I think we can still make music until we're old motherfuckers. But yeah,
Babies, and if we're getting married and having babies, it's pretty hard, and you can't just go away for 3 months at a time.
yeah, and we both half got careers, I would say, in the works in our private life.
Yeah.
In our fucking takes up all the time of our goddamn lives.
To pay for being in a band.
Exactly. So at some point there's going to be a give or take, and I think in 5 years, if we've toured Europe, we're pretty happy, and then we'll just do music after that.
Sweet.
For fun.
That's good. Well, fellas, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I've still got...
You got another one to
Fucking
go,
hell,
mate.
You've done really well with
I
your
am
pints.
drunk and having a blast, and I'm excited for the night ahead.
You guys got an acoustic set tonight at Storm Rider.
Yeah, man, they don't happen very often, so I'm pretty excited when they do, and it's super chilled out.
Yeah, man.
And we're getting to open tonight as well, because
Well,
it's good to do that.
Before even realising there was an acoustic set, I just saw you guys on the set time, so I went, why the fuck are you guys playing at 6 o'clock? And all I could think was, you guys wanted to drink, and that's it. And
Well, it's funny because old mate Stu, who's running the show, likes to advertise us because, well, without
You get the
having an
draw
ego,
card.
I guess maybe a slight draw card, but
We're a
But for
local
us-
draw on a lineup of a lot of interstate bands.
a lot of interstate bands. And I don't know, we always say whenever we play gigs, like, fuck, I wish we were opening tonight so we could just get in, set up, be ready to go when doors open, and then drink the rest of the night.
mad.
Piss our pants by 9 o'clock and be
Sounds
done with
good.
it.
Oh, well, as long as you beat me to it, then I'll be happy with it.
Thanks, Andy. And
Yeah.
anyone out there, make sure you subscribe to the Claim the Throne Blodgecast, because there will be an interview with Andy from the Andy Social Podcast very soon, over the coming months anyway. So keep your ears peeled.
Spam, spam, spam. I'll
Hashtag marketing.
All right, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to check out more of what Cabaret Ash are up to, go to claimthethrone.com. You can find Claim the Throne on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, they're out there. Also, check out their podcast as well, the Blodgecast. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, you can search for them on iTunes. I believe they're on a number of other different platforms as well. But a really cool DIY behind-the-scenes podcast that will certainly reveal a lot of interesting things of how bands work and the mechanics behind it. So it's quite good. Before I wrap it up, very quickly, if you want to support the podcast, go to andysocial.net. If you shop on Amazon, there's an Amazon portal link there where you can shop as per normal on Amazon, but I get a small percentage of what you spend, and it helps keep this podcast up and running with some of those monthly little expenses that pop up here and there. If you want to support in other ways, rate and review on iTunes. That's a great way of getting this podcast out to more people. You can also share links to the podcasts that are on YouTube. It's a great way to introduce people to podcasts in general or to a particular episode or guest. And as always, any ratings, sharing, tagging, all those social media functions, they go a long way to reach more people. So thank you so much for everyone that's supporting. More episodes coming up soon. I've got a long list of Perth people, and this is just one of many to come. So thank you very much for the support, and I'll be back next week. Well, I'm going to record another intro in a sec, but we'll be back next week with another episode of the Antisocial Podcast. Thanks, guys.
You're